Welcome to the Deborah Kennedy Show. Tonight, I have a very special guest, Miss Katy Ryan, Executive Director of Kindermorn. Katy, welcome to the set.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And we're going to talk about something tonight that, hopefully not everyone will experience, but at some point they'll experience mourning in a different way, whether it's a parent, a child, a sibling, whatever. But you specifically at Kindermorn, tell us a little bit about your story and how you became involved.
Yeah, so Kindermorn's been around for 46 years. We provide grief counseling to parents that have lost children and children that have lost a parent, sibling, or other pivotal caregiver. So we are in the death and bereavement business. There aren't many organizations like ours out there that specifically focus on that type of loss and grief. And like I said, it's a free and reduced cost, so no one's turned away for a lack of ability to pay. We have individual counseling, group counseling, and we have a program that's embedded in the CMS school system.
That is wonderful. And there are so many ways that people do mourn. And I'm sure as the executive director, you're always fine-tuning and changing it up because you said you have different methods and modalities that work for different people. What is the one common thread that you feel, is a one-size-fits-all? Because many are not, but there's probably a couple things that is a one-size-fits-all.
I mean, everyone's journey is so different when it comes to grief. So it's our job to figure out, what does the grieving person need? Some people grieve quietly. Some people like to grieve out loud. Some families or individuals will create a foundation or do charity events. Other people want to do things quietly. I mean, the one thing that's always there, and if I give any piece of advice to anyone, is talk about their loved one that they lost. So that's a lot of what we do. Tell me if you experienced a loss, I would want to know, I would say their name. I would ask you to share your favorite story. So it's things like that. I mean, that's kind of the common thread when it comes to dealing with grief, is just figuring out how you process your grief and keep the memory of your loved one alive.
So I think it's challenging because it's uncomfortable talking about death. It just, for most people, it's very uncomfortable. So I like that. Keep the name alive, keep the memory alive, keep the stories alive. But I'm sure that's challenging for some people because they internalize.
They do. I mean, some of the key things when you're grieving is to have a good support system, to get uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, to create a calm, safe space for yourself, to try to create a sleep schedule, to, have certain individuals that you can just be your messiest self with, not to make any big decisions. You hear that a lot when people have experienced a loss. And we do get a lot of questions from people more often than not about someone I know lost someone. How on earth do I talk to them about it? And again, it's don't be afraid to say their loved one's name. Don't be afraid to speak it out loud. Don't be afraid to share your own memories with them. Right. Let them grieve the way they want to grieve. You don't need to cheer someone up unless they've specifically asked you to. Sometimes they just want you to sit quietly with them in their grief.
Well, I think too, it's a challenge for not only the person around the grieving person, but also the grieving person around someone that that they might not feel comfortable talking to. So it's a double-sided. But I think, like anything, probably time heals, and then the comfort and probably the acceptance of the person that lost their child or their parents, right?
A lot of it is figuring out, I'm going to get technical with these words, but how can you best self-soothe and self-regulate? And those are some of the tools that we teach adults, but Also that we teach children, especially children whose brains have not developed to the point where they can quickly access that cognitive part of their brain and come up with words for their big emotions.
Right.
So what are those things that, sometimes are rhythmic and repetitive that naturally soothe your system? Going for a walk, chewing a piece of gum, sucking on a lozenge, being active, all those types of things. So we kind of figure out what is it that this person needs. I mean, we have a lot of people that go out and they'll train for a marathon, and other folks that do art therapy. I mean, it's just a lot of it is working with the individual and figuring out, okay, how can we best help them navigate the maze of death and bereavement? Because we will all, you mentioned this earlier, we will all experience loss, but some losses are just unfathomable.
Right.
When you have a sudden loss of a child, due to an accident or any number of different things. I mean, how do you even begin to process that? And that's what we're there for.
Well, I think it's very important that what you really talked about was moving forward. And so everybody has to move forward at a different time, at a different pace. And like you said, that is something that no one trains you. I mean, you're going to lose a parent eventually. I mean, that's just going to happen, but you don't plan on losing a child. And so that is uncommon territory. And no one can ever know how they would react to that. You just wouldn't know. So, that's something that you have different modalities. You have whether they might want group therapy, individual therapy. They might want just isolation for a bit. Like you said, they might want to get their mind off and run a marathon.
We have people that will call us the day that their child has died. And we have another woman that's in one of our groups right now whose daughter died 13 years ago. And this is the first time that she's been able to really sit with her grief and try to start navigating it. But the key to mental health in general, you're either going to deal with it or eventually it is going to deal with you.
Right.
So we want to make sure that wherever people are in their journey and whatever type of treatment or counseling that they're most comfortable with, that there is no barrier to care. We have a real problem in this country with mental health care. The 3 largest providers of mental health care in this country are the LA prison system, the Chicago prison system, and the New York prison system, in that order. So if that doesn't tell you that we have a lack of mental health care in this country, I don't know what will.
Right. Mental health is real. Like, I think now we're more open with it. People talk about mental health probably 10 years ago.
Oh, it's night and day different.
Right.
We have a whole new generation of children, teens, young adults who are so open when it comes to their mental health needs. But you look at sort of ages 35 and up, and a lot of folks are still pretty close-lipped about it. So, but yeah, like grief it can hit you in so many different ways along your journey, and time does heal, but sometimes you get hit with a rogue wave. And you kind of have to do the work to know, okay, how am I going to handle this when it happens? Because it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. So tell me a few stories that you're most proud, because it's such a great organization, Kinder Morgan. And I know you're executive director. It's a huge part of it. So tell me a couple success stories that make you feel so proud to be part of Kinder Morgan.
Sure. I can't mention any names because of HIPAA regulations.
Of course.
But,
we don't want
we have a couple that's involved who had a very traumatic loss of a child, and they've created a foundation, and we've helped them not only navigate their loss, but help them with some of the inner workings and best practices with running a nonprofit.
Right.
And they're out there doing great things. And I think that there is no moment where someone can say, okay, I'm healed, I'm all better. But I look at folks who are going out and getting out of bed every day and going back to work. I mean, those are things that are really difficult that people don't think about. Because even the thought of going back to work, every single person that you work with is going to say, are you okay? They're going to want to know what happened. They're going to want an update. And it gets really hard to say the same thing over and over again. Absolutely. So as far as success stories go, I mean, I love to see people get out and start living life again, because sometimes, people will lock themselves inside their 4 walls and just not come back to life again, and your loved one wouldn't want that.
Right.
So that foundation is one of them. We have another couple who lost a son to cancer, and they've done a lot to come and speak to other parents and other families. And anytime we're talking about Kinder Morgan, they're the first person to raise their hand and volunteer and come and speak, like our golf tournament, so that the people participating have a first-person testimonial as to how the dollars raised there are going to impact the mission of Kinder Morgan, because they're standing right there sort of testifying to their grief. And those are the things that I'm just so proud of people for being able to pick up the pieces, and it will never be the same. It's kind of like, you're not, what was lost in the fire, you're not going to find all of that in the ashes, but you're going to sweep them up and figure out a way to move forward with them.
Right.
Or you're just going to be standing in them forever.
And so you help them move forward. I love that. Well, tonight was such a good message. Thank you for stopping and sharing, because it's something that most people feel uncomfortable talking about, but it's something that that you have other people out there that have experienced it, and Kinder Morn makes it so much more approachable and the healing process so much easier.
Yeah, and I can't thank you enough for having me on to talk about grief, because it is uncomfortable. And so I think a lot of people don't know about Kinder Morn. They don't know the resources there. And so kudos to you for being willing to have some of the tough conversations, alongside the fun ones.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Katy.
Well, thanks for having me.
Kinder Morn, it's something that is a great organization that you can get involved in. I really appreciate Katy stopping by tonight and sharing the stories. And there is a website, Kinder Morn.
kindermorn.org.
.org for more information.
To view this entire episode or to view other past episodes, please visit our podcast site at DeborahKennedyShow.com. You can view the complete episodes right on the website or subscribe to the show via iTunes or your favorite podcatcher. Thanks for watching.
Tonight, I am honored to have an amazing guest, Miss Rebecca Cullen. We're so excited to have you tonight. Oh my gosh, what you do is so empowering and amazing. And you have a real estate business. And you, my powerful friend, have started this how many years ago?
So 9 years ago, I started in real estate.
Your own real estate business.
Yes.
Like, this is pretty amazing, because in a world where there is a real estate office and big names on every corner, how powerful that you started your own business. Tell me that story.
Yes. Well, thank you. So in 2015, I was in this special events world, and I was already an investor in real estate. And I started to realize that I wanted to help others with being able to build wealth. And so got into real estate, got my license, and it took off from the moment I had a lot of support from the people that loved me in past world.
Well, I can tell you're so with it that everyone's going to love you and want to be part of your show. But you said you also do investing in real estate. So it's not just real estate. It is the investment aspect of it.
Yes.
Walk me through that.
So we're investor friendly. So we have people that, they call us from New York, they call us from Chicago, they call us from all across the country to invest in Charlotte, because it's one of the fastest growing areas. And so we are investor savvy. And personally, my husband and I became investors in 2011. And because of the journey we've been on and the blessing of building the wealth through real estate, we teach others. And I most especially love when single women or people that are, they don't feel like they have any other choice,
Right.
but to create this new path. They're my favorite people to work with.
Oh, I love it. So walk me through that. Walk me through when you talk about these women that don't feel empowered, like they don't know how to invest. Walk me through how you empower them.
Yeah,
in
so
the investment.
It's truly a goal planning conversation.
Right.
So I took that previous special events world that I was in, and I truly create like what the cake tasting part feels like. So tell me about your goals. Tell me what you, at the end result in 10 years from today, what would you like to see happen? And then we break it down. And if they have some money saved up, awesome. If they have no money saved up, then we talk about what the next steps look like. But for a lot of people, it's that passive income opportunity. And we have some clients who, they buy 7 properties a year with us. They sometimes purchase properties for their family members. And it's really a blessing to be able to to kickstart someone's life.
This is like full circle. So you deal with everyone. So let's talk about the real estate market. So it's very volatile. And I did read that interest rates were going to change and they were going to go down. Well, that hasn't happened. And then I also read that they were going to change the commission percentage on the real estate.
Yes.
So tell me how you feel about that.
So NAR settled with the current challenges that we're seeing in the news,
Right.
And what that means is that in the MLS, so the multiple listing service,
Right.
there will no longer be compensation advertised to buyer agents. That does not mean that sellers can't offer opportunity for the buyer's agents, but really what it means is us as real estate professionals have a value proposition, and we get to share our marketing fees. And if we have a seller that wants to have maximum exposure, sometimes it makes sense for us to also offer compensation to a buyer's agent.
Right, absolutely.
On the opposite spectrum, so we were just talking about investing,
Right.
we have a value proposition that we market our buyers the same way we do our sellers. So whether that's through door knocking or through writing letters on behalf of our clients, there is a fee that's involved with marketing our buyers. And so that NAR settlement just means that we can no longer expect a seller to pay us.
Right.
We will expect to market ourselves and have a value proposition to be able to receive compensation of some sort. And then to the interest rates,
Who knows, right?
who knows,
It's a gamble.
right? Yeah, it's
Right.
it's one of those things where the market's good
Very good, especially in our area, right?
and inflation is still high and employment is great. It's really strong. And so there's no reason to lower interest rates and people are still buying. And so I think there's an opportunity where the wealth is built in the purchase. The wealth is not built in the sale. And so if you buy now and you refinance in 3 to 5 years when the interest rates change, you'll be laughing all the way to the bank.
So I will say I agree with that to some extent, but I'll also say the new home buyers
Yeah,
that perhaps cannot afford, because interest rates make a difference in your payment.
absolutely.
So the people that are investing and the people that can afford it, it's easy.
Yes.
Like they know in 3 to 5 years, or most of them, let's be honest, pay cash. A
Yes.
lot pay cash. So I do feel the losers in this game would be the entry level people that can't afford a certain house, especially with the interest rates.
And I love that you say that. So what we're seeing with a lot of first-time home buyers especially is new construction. I remember as a first-time home buyer in 2009 when I was purchasing, we were looking at new construction because new construction was able to, we were able to buy down our interest rate and they weren't requiring so much of a down payment.
Right.
And FHA buyers, VA buyers, those that are getting financial aid or government-backed loans, new construction's clean,
Right.
and you know what you're getting. So new construction is a great route for first-time home buyers.
Right, and when we first bought our first home, I think the interest rates were 12%
Right.
way back. I mean, it was many years ago. But I do see now people are spoiled, and that interest rate was below 3, which is free money. And so the younger people and the investors and everyone was jumping on it because it was
Absolutely.
perfect timing.
Yes.
So tell me, as we close, 3 words of advice for people that want to invest, for people that want to see the cynical world plus and make a profit.
Yeah, so again, purchase now.
Now.
Time is always right to
Right.
buy, and it's not an emotional decision. So oftentimes people think about the emotion behind it. I like to teach people about the future of any purchase.
Right. Well, I'm going to trust you. You just have this energy about you. I love it. You are so articulate. You're just like have this happiness about you. So I would trust you, girl.
Thank you. Thanks, Deborah.
Of course. Rebecca Cullen, amazing business wealth finder as well as real estate.
If you are in the fashion, art, or entertainment industry and would like to be a guest on the Deborah Kennedy Show, just go to deborahkennedyshow.com and you could be a guest just like me.
Tonight I have a very special guest, Miss Tammy Levent. Hey, gorgeous. How are you?
Deborah, I'm really excited to be here.
I'm more excited to have you, girl. You have it going on. You are an entrepreneur, a woman that has had life happen and you bounced back.
I even died 10 years ago, so nothing can take me down.
That is a good story. So we're going to start with that. You're a woman that's had to reinvent yourself many times, and we'll start with you had a jewelry business.
Mm-hmm. So actually, women have to reinvent themselves all the time. So it's not just me, it's all women,
Right.
because we are really the head of the household. Whether you're with someone or not, you're the one that's in control, and women rule the world, and we always have to take control and take over and do whatever we need to do to
Amen,
survive.
sister. I agree with that. And we
Right?
do it so well and effortlessly. And if men had to have babies and ruled the world, guess what? We'd have no babies, right? So I agree with you. Women are the power, the superpower.
That's it. So I had a jewelry store. I got married young, and I had a jewelry store with my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And fast forward, we had it for 5 years, and we had an armed robbery. And unfortunately, they beat him really bad, and we had he had a little bit of brain damage, and then we had some issues, and it was very hard for him to get back into the real world. You know, that PTSD is really real.
Absolutely.
And I had to reinvent myself. And unfortunately, 6 months after the robbery, my children were in a very, very bad car accident where their grandmother was driving. She passed out at the wheel, hit a brick helm, and my daughter was disfigured. Her tongue was severed, her face was torn off, and my son's orbital eye was fractured, and they were in intensive care, both of them at the same time. So here you have a husband that can't maintain anything. I had to work and take care of everyone. And it was a nurse that came in the hospital and posed a question to me and said, if it had nothing to do with money, what would you do? And I said, I would travel the world. Fast forward 30 years later.
Here you are.
Here
travel
I am,
business. You
you know.
teach people, you travel, you get to live your dream.
I sure do. And last year, I took a year off. And I traveled. I mean, I've traveled the world, but last year I decided to do everything I didn't do in my bucket list. Right. So I went to Australia, not for a week, not for two, not for three, for 1 month.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
And then I went
Jelly.
to Thailand for a month, and then I went to Portugal and Italy, and I didn't even stay home. I don't even know what home was. I just decided, you know what, life's too short. I'm going to do what I want to do.
All on your own?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Right.
I love it. Like, that's
Works for me.
brave because, you know, like, that's a long time to be
I
gone.
did that, and so I have the travel school. So I train travel agents or how to become a travel agent. So I bring them along too. Like this year we're going to Iceland, and then next year we're going to Thailand and Bali again. But I'm going to go. I think I'm going to live half the year in Sardinia. I really like it. It was my favorite place that I've ever been to.
Love it. So tell me a little bit about travel. Like, I love travel. If there's 3 places of all the places that you've been, or you have a travel school, so all the places that you even maybe want to go, what are the 3 places, past, present, future, for travel?
I
And
loved
why?
Australia. Did not like Sydney. It was like New York. Melbourne was okay out in the countryside, but Adelaide was my heart. My heart, Adelaide all day. Kangaroo Island. I could live with the kangaroos. They come up to you, feed them by hand. They're just like, wow, they're just so cute. So, but I loved everything about Australia. But my number one favorite is definitely Sardinia. That's why I'm going to go live there. Even though I don't know Italian, we're going to have fun with this.
Greek, Italian, a little bit.
You know, it's the same thing. We're related.
Say them all.
And definitely Greece, which is where I'm from. But these were my ultimate favorite destinations. Greece is always a favorite.
So give us some insider secrets. Like so many people now have travel agents, back to travel agents. But a lot of people do it on their own. So tell us 3 secrets to travel.
Well, first of all,
on budget friendly and time wise.
Well, another thing is you don't want to do it on your own. A lot of people have misconceptions. You know, if a travel agent charges you fees, I wouldn't go there because that means they're not making enough money. You know what I mean? Like, why are you charging me a fee? It's like going buying a car. They charge you a fee. But I think that Thailand and Bali right now is definitely budget friendly, beautiful country, and everything is great. And using a travel agent, not using a travel agent, however you want to do it, it doesn't matter. You get so much for your money. I was so impressed. I can have a full course meal, 5-course meal with wine, with dessert, with everything that I wanted for like $8.
$8?
I'm not joking. It's crazy there.
Wow.
Massages for 2 hours were like $10. I know.
Sign me up.
It was every day. Every day. I was like, oh, I need another pedicure.
What? Full body, many.
It was amazing. Thailand, Bali is outrageously inexpensive.
It's only the travel to get there. Is
No,
expensive?
even that wasn't that
No?
expensive. No, like maybe it was $1,100. It's not
Right.
that much. No.
Hotel's not expensive over
No,
there?
you can find no.
So it's budget friendly.
Yes.
Yes, not like Disney.
No,
Not like Orlando.
No, you can spend a lot less.
Yes, a lot less. I love it. So tell me about your book.
So I'm going to give you this as a gift. It's Sink or Swim. Basically, it's my life story, and people are saying, well, who's Tammy Levent, and why should we hear about her life story? Well, the most important part of the story is really at the end, that I've gone through so much, like 2 hit-and-run car accidents, armed robbery. I've lost everything so many times, and people can relate. You know, we had COVID, and
Absolutely.
then we all lost everything, started over
Real
again.
estate market,
Everything.
401ks, lots
Everything.
of it.
Travel, like who was going? Anyway,
Right.
whatever. That's when I reinvented myself and invented the donut the first donut ever created. But at the end of the
puff.
book, I talk about I had breast cancer, and I had a premonition that I was going to die during this very simple lumpectomy. And I told them that I was going to die literally 2 minutes before they put me under, and I died. And they brought me back. And then they said, oh, your cancer is malignant. You need to do all sorts of treatment. And I said, no. So I did no treatment, no radiation, no chemo, nothing. Cancer's been gone now for 11 years.
Praise Jesus.
I know, right?
That's a miracle.
Yeah.
That's a true testament to God wants you here to do many things.
To make
Purpose.
donuts. So
To
anyway.
make donuts, to make puffs, and write a book. Right.
And write a book. I'm on my 4th book now, so it's really good. So I do a lot. I have this, I have the travel agency, the travel school. I invented the world's first donut ever created in the entire world. That's how we got donut today. It was written about in the Old Testament.
Ooh.
And recreated it for food service.
I love it. So tell me, as we wrap up, you are just so full of energy and positivity. And no matter what happened in life, you bounced back. So what is one sentence, one thing that you could share with our audience that makes you so resilient?
Because life has been handed you've been handing a certain way in your life. So you have to go with that path. Whether the path brings you to a good side or a bad side, it doesn't matter. There is no good or bad. It's the way that your life has been dealt, and you have to deal with what has been dealt, if that makes sense.
Mindset.
So God gave you this path to take, and you have to take it with stride, and you have to live with it, whether it's going to work out in your favor or whether it doesn't work out in your favor. You don't know, and you have to go with faith. I mean, that's how I live my life daily, and I make plans, and you're resilient, but at the end of the day, this was the path. This was the way that you were to take. You know, sometimes people ask you, Deborah, if you were to do it all over again, would you change anything? People ask me that. I go, well, instead of maybe I shouldn't have died, but it wasn't my choice, but I wouldn't change anything.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it absolutely does. You are just a breath of fresh air. Thank you
Oh,
so
thank
much
you.
for stopping by
Thank
the
you
set
for
tonight.
having me.
You
Thank
are an
you.
amazing light.
Thank you.
Amazing. Tammy Levent. She lets her light shine. Your light can shine too.
To view this entire episode or to view other past episodes, please visit our podcast site at DeborahKennedyShow.com.
So just